there is not much that they can do. Okay, let's regulate crypto casino, but practically, what does it mean? Probably nothing.
What we're going to talk about today is leadership through, change, chaos, adversity. The industry right now I can't imagine it's been in much more fluidity or change than we've seen in the last even 6 months, with the regulations, with AI, with everything else, the Gen Zs coming through, home working, everything else. How's it going?
It's going well. Very interesting times indeed. I've never seen in so many years so many changes happening all together.
Yeah.
So I would say that, at least personally, I don't know the other CEOs and colleagues how are they tackling it, but it looks like we are in uncharted territory
Exactly,
from
yeah.
time to time.
It's a very different game now to lead a business of 100, 200, 300, 400 people in this kind of new world. How does Casumo go about it, and how do you go about it?
Yes. Well, we have adopted an hybrid policy. At the end of the day, we offer 3 days at the office and 2 days at home, where possible. Of course, there are a few departments like customer service, etc., which are on a different schedule for obvious reasons, of course. And I believe that at the end of the day, after COVID, with all these changes, it's more about the culture now than anything else. It's not really about the process, the procedures, how you control your workforce. It's really about how you engage with them.
Yes.
So having consistent values which are properly communicated and felt in the organization is absolutely fundamental. And it's the only thing that makes things work at the end of the day.
Yes.
So I believe that the role of HR today it has never been so important and also so difficult, because putting together all these people, in such a different way, is more difficult and requires new skills, new tools, a new mindset.
Yeah, I think I definitely say that. When I arrived, I remember talking to the head of HR. He's saying, "You are the most important person in this organization, because everything's going to come through you. The good things, the bad things. They only see a lot of very difficult situations to go through. So the resilience for that team is really hard. And often the HR team and the people team are kind of it's a bit of a thankless task, because they're always the kind of butt of everything, and they have to manage all the difficult things. But they're super, super important, and especially now when you've got people who are at the other end of a screen or a keyboard. It's not like it's much easier to be confrontational than it used to be. You can say what you think, because there's a glass panel in between you and everybody else. How has that changed from kind of when you were starting out in your career and moving up? How are things different these days for you?
Well, everything has changed dramatically. This was many years ago, I would say, an easier industry in terms of business model, in terms of core value proposition to your players, etc. And over the years, it has become a very complicated industry, more and more regulated, more and more complicated, with many more barriers and rules, I would say. The real thing is, I strongly believe in the regulation. I strongly believe in a regulated market environment. Yet, the most difficult thing that you manage today is basically the paradox in which we live in. And the paradox, in my opinion, is the following one. We live in a situation where regulated companies run more risks than unregulated companies.
Yes, that's right. And the thing is, we can see, because we have the kind of affiliate view, we see a lot of traffic that comes in. We can see users and players coming in and out of various different places, and we do have a view of regulation and unregulated markets too. And we see the immediate results of a law change or a regulation change, which is well-meaning and designed to safeguard players, but actually often it's an over-regulation, and it pushes people, accelerates people into the black markets. Is there a happy balance of regulation, do you think?
Well, yes. The answer is absolutely yes. There are a few countries that, in my opinion, have a good balance. I mean, I've been the CEO of Napoleon Sports and Casino in Belgium. They have tightened the regulation, but what I hear from my former colleagues is still bearable. Also, Italy, I believe that net, if you exclude the advertising ban, which can be good for a few companies also, it's still a good environment where players still can find some sort of freedom, let's say, always inside a protected environment. Then you have other extremes in which, of course, this balance is not present. So I believe that you need to look at things granularly, as usual, and identify different situations. So the balance is possible. There are jurisdictions with a good balance, absolutely. And other jurisdictions with a poor balance.
Whenever I speak to regulators, which is not often, but I do get the chance now and again, the barometer of a good, healthy market is enough operators operating within there in a good competitive world. And as soon as you see operators leaving a market, then that should be a big red flag. Because if you can't make money in the market and they're not there, it means that the money's still there. The gambling is still happening. It's just sitting outside regulation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I mean, look at Germany. Look at Netherlands is okay. Sweden's okay, but I mean Germany particularly, and even the US. The numbers of casino and slots operators has been going down, or they've been merging, and it takes away that competitive edge, and it means that there's not really much of a viable market there.
No, indeed.
Yeah. So I mean, moving on now. Obviously, we're in the age of AI and sort of machine learning, and everything's just speeding up massively. And again, we've probably both come from an area where my first job is all manual. It's literally pieces of paper from one side of the table to another. And now I'm talking about synthetic streamers and all these other things that we are confronted with every day. And they've got Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So we're moving away from central banks and payment gateways and things like that. And there's a whole raft of new payment service providers that we all, I'm sure you and I just are faced with all the time. Where do you think it's going to go? I mean, my feeling is that maybe what will happen is that there's a relaxation, or everyone's going to kind of go into this black area, but then they're going to come back because there'll be some bad stories or something. Because the next generation of players, they're in this kind of hive mind. They're all talking to each other the whole time. They're finding the weaknesses and the inconsistencies, and they're all going en masse, whether that's Telegram casinos or whether it's streaming or whatever it might. Do you think there'll be a time when either the regulators realize this is happening, or that generation realizes that actually it's a good idea to be within properly regulated operators?
Here, I mean, there are two questions.
Yes, I'm sorry, big question.
Yeah, one is around crypto, the other one is around AI, but quite two different things. I mean, about crypto, I mean, I was just last week in the UK and to the UKGC CEO conference, and Andrew Rhodes said that sooner than later, the UK government should acknowledge the existence of crypto casinos. And should absolutely regulate them because they're a huge reality.
But how can you? And I asked this question at the affiliate leaders in Lisbon, and the Dutch regulator acknowledged that they can't do much about it because they can't restrict payments. Exactly. They can't go to a bank and say
they need to regulate them.
They can't. Yeah, exactly.
They need to regulate them. It's not going to be easy, right?
Yeah, but the whole point of decentralized finance is you can't reach it. So that's the ledger maybe, but yeah. So, I'm not trying to put roadblocks into this, but it's difficult, right?
It is, especially because most of the times these casinos don't operate in your,
in the jurisdiction.
In jurisdiction, they are somewhere maybe in, Russia, I don't know what, but it's difficult to catch them. Richard, at the end of the day, we go back to one of the original sins of our industry, which is the regulators don't have any police power. They don't have any enforcement power. They are basically powerless. Okay. Until we don't reach that point, you're right. There is not much that they can do. Okay, let's regulate crypto casino, but practically, what does it mean? Probably nothing. But something must be done.
There has been some moves, I think, in Sweden, because in Sweden they're changing the law to say that it's not about where the company's based. Therefore, if you're outside Sweden, you're outside the law. It's where the players are based, and if you're in Sweden,
point of consumption.
Exactly, point of consumption, and that will make a big difference. But I've said this before. Regulators got a really difficult job, right? They really have got a difficult job. Regulation is one, enforcement's the other, education is the third. And education is very important, and not on the point of view of if you don't use a regulated casino, they're going to lose out. Because don't use that language, because they don't care. But what they do care about is risking their money and risking their safety. Yeah, and it's a bit like sometimes they talk about environmental catastrophe. But actually, when you bring that into your own words, air quality, air pollution, your health is going to be at risk by the increases in temperature. It's a different way of doing it. It's a different nudge. And I think that's probably what regulators should think about, saying that your health and your money are at risk with these companies sometimes, and you should take that view.
Yes, I mean, there should be a sensibilization campaign, but again, the second original sin of our industry is that the regulator is not well funded at the end of the day.
Yes.
So they don't have not only the police powers, let's say, but the enforcement powers, but they don't have the financial power to, reach out to the mass and advocate for a regulated
If you
market.
think about France, I think France does quite a good job. I mean, it's obviously not regulated, but they do quite a good job of enforcing the law. We've seen that recently, and then Japan, I think, is the same one. You know, they're pretty heavy on people who are gambling. They've criminalized gambling, so
Yes.
that's pretty hard. But I mean, that's the other end of it. But anyway, you know, I think that the challenge of businesses like ours, and yours is bigger than ours, but is the agility, is maintaining the ability to change direction if you need to. Is that something you think about? Is that something we can deal with? I mean, what's Casumo like in terms of thinking that you can be flexible enough to change to the demands of the market and industry?
Well, I mean, inside the regulated market, there is little that you can change. Okay, the requirements are very clear. You can be creative until a certain point. Then the compliance risk in which you incur in starts to become bigger than the advantages of being creative, let's say.
Yes. Okay.
So naturally, what do? You look at other jurisdictions, other opportunities, etc., etc. And this is what we do. This is what everyone does, I believe. Nothing new. But again, operating in regulated markets is becoming more and more challenging, more and more difficult. And unless you don't want to run dark operations, which is far from, absolutely far from what I want to do. It's very difficult nowadays to find those good old light gray markets. They're vanishing at the end of the day. Everyone is regulating, etc.
For good reasons. I mean,
For
obviously,
good reasons,
nobody
of
wants to have
course.
an addicted population with financial problems. But at the same time, it is an entertainment industry, and looking at game providers now, and game provision and designs of games, you can. I mean, in the old days, you had hundreds of people there sitting there building games, and now, from an AI point of view, I mean, there's some companies out there that we know very well who are automating the process of their game production, and also making them much more entertaining, much more like a movie as opposed to just a casino game. Is that a good thing? Is that something, because obviously you've got to attract the next generation and give some innovation, because otherwise the game producing studios look very similar. The games are literally from one to another, they're very similar.
Yeah.
How do you think they're going?
Well, I mean, I already I know people that are trying to build a one-man led studio, all powered by AI. I believe that it's doable, absolutely, and also the outcome can be very interesting. So if you ask me the question, will this happen through AI? The answer is absolutely yes, especially for B2Bs rather than for B2C. Where the operations behind are a little bit easier, let's say, a little bit more systematic, replicable in terms of automation. In terms of innovation, how the new games will look like, well, it's gambling at the end of the day. All started decades ago with the fruit slot machine with three wheels in Las Vegas or in the States, and still fruit games are one of the most popular ones. So I believe that there will be innovation in terms of how you engage with the players, bonus features, extra rounds, extra features. But still, we're talking about, spinning a wheel.
Yes, exactly. That's right. Yeah, and it has to be random. And it has to be a game of luck and not just skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see you. The other
Maybe
thing,
I am a little bit more conservative in terms of how the shape of games will look like in the next 5 to 10 years.
that's interesting. Yeah, because at the end of
I'm
the
just
day,
talking about slot machines,
no,
not live games,
no, I
live
understand.
casinos.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yes, and I think you're right. I mean, there's always going to be a mass market that stays comfortable with what they're doing, and then of course new generations come in and they have a different expectation. But humans are humans, and they want that game of like luck and skill.
What I see is there is a more, let's say, a socialization of gaming, in the sense that at the center you still have a slot machine, but around it you are building an ecosystem of players who talk to each other, comment the game,
Exactly.
they play together, pooling the bets, etc., etc. So there is a new ecosystem which is becoming
more
a
social.
reality.
Yes,
let's
yes.
say
Because I guess they've come in through online games when they've been literally talking to people on their headsets,
exactly.
and those networks have now matured and they're in their 20s and 30s, and they've got a bit more money than they used to have. But they're very, as I said earlier, they're a hive network. And if you're putting in barriers like payment gateways or restrictions on whatever it might be, they can get around you in seconds because one person in a network of 1,000 needs to tell each other and then they're changed.
Yes.
And they do move in big shoals. They move around. The fashions are very quick but very big, as you can see with some of the streamers. And that's been happening ever since kind of YouTube personalities came through about 15 years ago.
Yes.
It's super interesting. And it's the junior people in our company are the people we should be asking about that, because the people who have been around a long time, they're used to what happened yesterday and not what's about to happen tomorrow or today. It's something like that. Going back to the agility point, is I think from a generational agility, we could be better at this, because we need to be asking really what's going down at the front of the business at the junior guys who are coming up with those players, and then we can anticipate it.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah. The other thing that we've got a big thing about is trust, transparency, and transformation within the affiliate industry, because the affiliate industry with fixed fees, revenue share, and CPA earnings, which has been the same since the beginning of the internet. I mean, fixed fees, I love them because it's cash up front, lovely, thank you very much. But it's not very affiliation, it's more display ads. We're thinking about building more of a marketplace around where we can see, because we can see a lot of data that it comes in and we can see very early on, and we can use AI to work out whether a player coming in or has come back is a VIP or a VIP with an addiction or with a fraudulent activity.
Yeah, you can see all of the
see all that
players'
stuff.
behavior, sure.
Yes, exactly. And we're thinking if we can bring this sort of trust and transparency through both sides, there's more value for everybody. Can you see that as a future of the industry?
Yes, absolutely. You have a big challenge in front of you, I believe, which is represented by AI itself, right? So you must create this kind of environment, this kind of ecosystem, which is a win-win, both for you and the operators.
And
Otherwise,
and the player.
And the player, because the players, I mean, will seek for information, will look for what they're looking for through AI. So I believe that the business model behind affiliation will be deeply changed the next few months and years. I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, brand trust is everything. But if you ask this generation of new players, what's the number one brand you think about, and you ask them properly, the answer is their best friend. They don't think about Coca-Cola or whatever. Their number one trusted brand is their best friend or their parents. Actually, not even their parents, but their best friend. So it's a level peer-to-peer thing. And I also personally think that maybe there'll be a day where players will create their own games and they'll market their own games to each other. It'll be a player-to-player environment.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. That could be a scenario. Absolutely.
Well, I think we've covered loads in our little session. It's amazing. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting
It's been
me.
really interesting, and good luck with Casumo, and it continues to grow in the way that it has done in the last few years.
Thank you very much, and good luck with Game Launch.
Thank you so much. Thank you.